Welcome back to SHIB Planet, everyone. This is Ace. Today I wanted to discuss some critical updates regarding Shiba Inu token, which were released by the lead developer Shytoshi Kusama. Now, before we get to that, let's take a quick look at my portfolio and make some commentary on Shiba Inu. Now, I think it's important to show you my current portfolio, not just for transparency, but also because my portfolio is just like yours, regardless of whatever balance you hold. Now, we all have a vested interest in the performance of Shiba Inu token, and I think that reviewing our position it'll help bring context to some of the updates which we'll be discussing later. Now, currently, Shiba Inu is trading currently at about 7.278, and I currently hold roughly 400 million SHIB. I've just rounded this figure up from my actual holdings, and this amount has a value of just under 3,000, trading at 2.9K. Now let's take a quick look at the charts. I'll just head over to Coin Market Cap. Now we can see that on the one-day chart, it appears that we are marginally up from yesterday, where SHIB briefly dropped below the 6,000 mark. But on the weekly chart, it shows quite a different story, where we lost structural support around about 5 days ago, and this then influenced and cascaded into a downward dip, where it appears long-term investors, I think around about here, long-term investors, they took advantage of the dip and they caused a bit of a recovery around about then. And I'll just quickly head back to my portfolio. Now, this is an overview of my current Shiba Inu ecosystem tokens, my SHIB, leash, and bone holdings, and they total roughly at about 5.7K. Now, for context, this portfolio, for those of you guys who've been following my channel, it's been as high as around about the high 8,000 mark, if you remember from my previous portfolios, and I haven't really added to my position that much. But I find that due to the reducing demand and supply of bone token, and the reduced demand of and reduced incentive for holding leash, and also with SHIB trading sideways, all this has contributed to like a loss of about or loss in value of about 2.5K of my portfolio. And I actually found that it's actually the bone which I acquired during the liquidity event, which is keeping me mostly in the green. Fortunately, I'm in Shiba Inu for the long term because I really believe in this project's potential, especially with all the utility which is being rolled out, which we'll discuss in a separate video. Now, let's get to the article. I'm just going to head over. Okay, here's the article. Now, the Medium article from Shytoshi it's titled "It's Dog's Day" because I believe this week was National Dog's Day. Now, I'm not going to read everything word for word, but I will summarize each paragraph in this article, and I'll expand on the important bits. It then reads, as you can see here, so let's get ready for battle. And from what I see, that this title here, it pretty much summarizes the theme of this article, and it's going to largely dwell on some changes which Shytoshi feels that need to happen in order to improve the performance of the Shiba Inu ecosystem. Now, the first paragraph reads like this. We are excited to announce an official internal restructuring which will help us streamline, organize, and optimize our decentralized operations. This was a challenge, but it keeps in line with Ryoshi's vision of a decentralized sovereign entity that has no leader but the structure to outlast most cryptos on the block. Okay, that's pretty much what it says there. Then he goes on to announce what some of those changes in the internal structure of the SHIB team are, and I've decided to illustrate this as follows. Okay, there are 4 internal departments have been formed in the dev team, and these departments, they are referred to internally as breeds or departments. Now, the breeds are as follows. There's currencies, technologies, growth, and defense. Now, each department or breed, whichever way you want to call it, it's headed by a top dog and an alpha. The alpha is responsible for making sure that each department is on track with internally set OKRs and KPIs, and they report these to the top dog. So each of these departments has a top dog and an alpha. Now, then each of these individual departments is broken down further into what they call packs, and these packs have LOTPs, or what they call like team leads or leaders of the pack, and the leads in these teams, they ensure that they work towards like granular goals, and all this, it ultimately helps to advance the collective vision of decentralization. Now, after I read this, a number of things stood out to me. Like what I've just done here is I've just given you a graphic form of what he's written over here. Like here are the breeds, as he says, and I'm just illustrating it just for clarity. Now, anyway, after I read this, I noticed a number of things which stood out. And for those of you who've worked in large corporations, you probably recognize it as well. Now, this is a typical corporate restructure which CEOs do for one of two reasons. Firstly, it's usually in response to a change of environment. For example, if an entity is not performing according to budget, they usually restructure it in order to improve efficiency. Now, this usually results in things like cost-cutting measures and team reshuffles, in my experience. Secondly, restructures, they happen in preparation for large, rapid growth. Now, when this happens, usually they bring in a subject matter experts. Maybe that's what these top dogs are for. And these subject matter experts, they sharpen specific parts of the business. That's probably why areas have been specified, and so that things go smoothly, and also so that there's better accountability. Now, in the case of Shiba Inu, I believe this structure is going to be for both of those reasons, to address the issues concerning the growth, and also to be able to implement the plans which are on the roadmap. Also, I noticed that he used very CEO specific terminology like OKRs and KPIs. I think if you go here, yeah, like he says here, to make sure each breed is on track with internally set OKRs and KPIs. To me, this suggests being serious about moving forward with the plans and measuring progress. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with OKR, let me see if I can find a quick definition for you. Now, I found this on just article just to help you guys understand what OKRs are. What is an OKR? OKR are objectives and key results. OKR. It's a goal-setting framework which helps the organization define goals or objectives and then track that outcome. So it's important. It's basically setting an objective and then tracking the result. The framework is designed to help organizations establish far-reaching goals in days instead of months. So that part is really important. So when CEOs usually start using this sort of methodology, this framework, the intent is to um, speedily bring about plans. So, and that makes a lot of sense because we do have a lot of things on our on the roadmap, and that's a good strategy in my opinion. Now, difference between OKRs and KPIs. Um, it says here, OKRs and KPIs, they seem similar on the surface, but KPIs, which are key performance indicators, are intended to measure like the health of a business initiative. But and it says here that although KPIs and OKRs are used as performance indicators, OKRs can be seen as an evolved KPI. So this is just some more context. You can pause and read that for yourself if you want. Now let's see if I can just head back to you. Now I've worked in some top tier corporations, and I recognize, for me personally, I recognize these breeds. They're probably the equivalent of business units or departments. And these top dogs, they're probably the equivalent of executive general managers or general managers, and they're responsible for each of these departments meeting their goals. And I think it's probably a good decision, because if we're going to have the growth which we want to have, we will need to be a little bit targeted rather than at least for a while, and that'll help set up the framework for decentralizations. Okay, here's my breakdown of what I think these things are. Okay, currencies. I believe this department is now made up of individuals who are solely responsible for listing new pairs on ShibaSwap. You know that we have an objective which was to list anywhere from 500 to 1,000 pairs, depending on, I think in the first Wolf paper it was 500 pairs, and then after that I did hear some um, talk of up to 1,000 pairs by the end of the year. Now, to me, so that's their OKR. The objective is to have like lots of pairs, and the amount is the actual result. And I personally think that they'll work closely with this growth breed in order to get results and insights faster. Okay, technologies. Now, personally, I believe this department is made up of technical developers who are responsible for technology aspects like ShibaSwap, Shibarium blockchain, which is being developed, and possibly even NFTs, and also the mechanism for ShibaNet, which will be coming out next year. And I think the OKR for this department, for example, for ShibaSwap, the OKR would be, you know, as per the Wolf paper, where it says to be the best decentralized ecosystem on the planet. And I think this will be measured by TVL. In ShibaSwap, we've got that TVL on the top left corner. They'll probably measure this, maybe by a certain percentage increase by the end of the year. And then this part here, growth. I believe this department is made up of people who are responsible for various forms of organic marketing. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shiba Inu has a certain budget of bone tokens which were minted or which have started being minted since the liquidity event, and they are reserved for when the ecosystem is complete. A certain portion, I think it's in the development wallet, there's a marketing portion for that. And I believe this particular department, this breed here, it will resource this fund and help to scale the SHIB ecosystem. And the OKR here would simply be more holders. You do know that Shytoshi did mention that they want to have up to 1 million holders by the end of the year. And finally, defense. Now, this is actually the most important one because, as you know, in crypto is rife with hackers and spammers. And the team here would work closely, I believe, with the technology team, and they would ensure that the systems are in place to maintain the security of ShibaSwap and the rest of the ecosystem. I think the Phase 2 announcements talk about some of those security things. Now, the OKR here would be something like, zero hacks. Obviously, nobody wants any hacks, and they could probably measure something like the number of scammers shut down or blocked. Okay, and I think that's it. And towards the end, Satoshi summarizes this section by saying here, I personally believe this structure allows us to better serve you and furthers our commitment to the hashtag SHIB Army. Next week, as we implement and shift resources to the right areas, set OKRs and KPIs, we will continue our conquest of the crypto space. This will start with intake of our incubator participants and a further explanation of the hierarchy. So we're basically gonna get more detail. Okay, cool. And then towards the end, Shytoshi basically gives an update on the rewards, and he extends his deepest apologies for the recent delays in staking rewards. For those of you who don't know, Shytoshi and Carl Daira, one of the developers, if you've been watching the chats, they had recent family emergencies. In fact, both of their fathers were in the ICU, and this was the reason for the silent period. This is pretty much what it says in this section here. And they've put in a system in place so that rewards can be distributed, automatically in case there's a future emergencies. And then he talks a little bit about NFTs. Let me see if I have a graphic for NFTs. Now, Satoshi then discusses NFTs by saying that they're almost ready for consumption. He mentions that the name of the set of NFTs that's been chosen, and the winner will be announced soon. And that he also mentioned that there's going to be extra rare SHIB NFTs, which will also be released. So for those of you who are interested in NFTs, that's going to be something which is pretty cool. And that's pretty much the gist of the updates, guys. In my experience, when restructures happen like this, they usually do improve internal performance. My personal hope is that it'll speed up the implementation of the items which have been stated in the roadmap plans, and that ultimately the market will react positively. Now, in fact, I'm confident it will because if you've seen my previous simulations, I foresee that mass adoption of cryptocurrency in general towards the end of the year. Um, and in time, I think that I mean, well into 2022, I think that's when SHIB will start standing out a lot more. Until then, like the rest of the long-term diamond handers, I believe we're in the early stages of a really big movement, and I'm going to keep holding and I'll keep buying the dips just like everyone else. Thanks for watching, everyone. Peace.